Hey guys, Gillyweed here with a very special interview that I am very excited about. I've got Justin and Alan, who are two lead artists for StarCraft 2. So the first question I'd like to ask you guys is, for people who might not be familiar exactly with the title lead artist, what is it exactly that you guys work on and do for StarCraft 2?
I can start with that. So I work with the story art team, and our team puts together the different cutscenes and the conversations that the players get to interact with in between the actual missions. So we help push the story forward and really try to help create that fantasy of what it feels like to play as a Protoss, in between the actual levels that you're playing in the campaign.
And I help guide the art for the actual campaign maps themselves, like the actual missions you go into, like making the doodads, making the units, all the environments.
So we've got a good spread of the art then for Legacy, so that's really cool. How did you get into or become StarCraft artists?
Wow. I worked on the original StarCraft back in the day, and man, back then it was everyone at Blizzard kind of worked on everything. So I worked on the original StarCraft, working on the tile sets and the units, some of the cutscenes and cinematics as well, and been working on a lot of different projects at Blizzard since then, and now I'm helping out on StarCraft 2.
And I started a long time ago just doing video editing, and somehow I kind of fell into art in the 3D, and then worked at a couple companies and came here 15 years ago, worked on Warcraft 3, and then now we're trying to wrap up this awesome trilogy.
Nice. I'm really excited for the wrap up. Obviously, the big news for StarCraft was the release of Legacy of the Void, or the tease of it, I should say. What kind of things can we look forward to artistically in Legacy of the Void?
I think just in general, the fidelity, we're pushing the bounds a lot just higher and further than ever before. I mean, I think there's a big jump in art from Heart of the Swarm, from Wings of Liberty, and I think we're even cranking it up further than that right now. I think just, there's like technical things like more polygons, more details, bigger textures, but really it's just the detail that we're putting into it and the care we're putting into it and more interactive, dynamic environments. It's way more.
You talked about in the panel building the Protoss cities and giving a Protoss feel to Legacy of the Void. So I wanted to know what kind of things artistically or where you draw inspiration from when creating the Protoss feel.
Yeah, well, I mean, when starting on the Protoss, working on their feel and what they're like, you got to go back to the original games and see where the inception of a lot of this stuff came from. So obviously they're a grand, majestic race. Everything's over the top. Obviously, the gilded, golded colors everywhere on their architecture, on their armor. And when designing it, we want to update it and kind of modernize some of it, but still remain true to where a lot of the original stylings came from. And so it's been a really fun process to finally give the Protoss their game, their campaign, and really see them come to life in StarCraft 2.
Give them their due.
Yeah, absolutely. Fans are it's long overdue. They're waiting for it.
Yeah, I know a lot of Protoss fans, myself included, who are like, we're ready to see the glory of the Protoss. But of course, it's not just really one Protoss feel almost. There are lots of different Protoss tribes that you'll be trying to reunite when you're playing the game. So how did you find artistic elements to maybe make them all still have a Protoss feel, but to differentiate them?
I think in the campaign you visit many different homeworlds. One of them is Cybros, which is like the robotic race of the Purifiers, the Purifiers that the Protoss made a long time ago, and that was a really challenging one for us. It's very exciting though, because it's like these robots and Protoss. I mean, super geeky, right? It's awesome. So we're like, well, we got to make sure they still feel like they're in tune somehow with these guys, and they have the roots, with the regular Protoss. So a lot of what we did was take the curvature, either changing the textures and keeping more like architecture very similar, or doing the opposite and keeping the gold but changing the actual architecture itself. So in their case, we kept a lot of the curves, kind of elegant structures, and then we added more robotic elements, and of course changed the color palette from more like golds to more like whites and blacks.
Yeah, it seemed like it was, when they were shown, they were a lot lighter almost in terms of like the world that it was on.
Yeah, well, it's also out in space. Like Cybros is actually this huge space station you're going to see in the campaign, and so you're kind of fighting on the surface of it.
That sounds pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome.
Very, very cool for us nerds. One thing I know I'm really excited about too is what the Xel'Naga are going to be like. When we were seeing the trailer, it seemed like the one that we saw almost moved kind of spider-like. So I wanted to know what we can expect as the look for them as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of buildup on what this is going to be revealed as in this campaign, and We hope to deliver that to the fans. You know, obviously something impressive and majestic, as well as just you know, appropriately imposing, and just want to fulfill that fantasy of what that is. We'll be releasing more imagery and more footage of that eventually. You know, but we think that the fans are going to be pretty excited when it comes out.
Awesome.
And the one actually in that cutscene I think that you're talking about is a hybrid. So it's not a pure Zelnaga. Yeah, so it's a hybrid that they've made. Amon's forces are trying to make, and it's like an amped up version of something, but it's not quite really Zelnaga. So we haven't really shown that stuff just yet.
Oh, so we're completely in the dark here with the Zelnaga. Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty cool. I can get behind that surprise, I suppose. One thing for the cinematics and the trailers and everything we see that I think really differentiates Blizzard art is how amazing the motion is. It seems very fluid and realistic. And one question that some of my friends had was if you guys use like motion capture, or how you guys are able to create such like fluid, awesome movements for your characters.
Well, each department has their own animation team, so whether it's the pre-rendered cinematics or the in-game cutscenes or the game art, they have their own team of animators. But I believe almost exclusively across the company, or at least on the game art side, it's all hand animated, which is awesome. I mean, it gives a lot of creative freedom and artistic liberty, and those guys work really hard, and we have some amazing animators that do a fantastic job of creating sometimes the stylized, more fantastical animations, or if they want to get more realistic and nuanced human animations, they do an awesome job all around.
Yeah, the cinematics are probably my favorite part. That and the stories are always just so amazing as well. It'd be, I'm sure, very difficult, but maybe like a ballpark for how long it takes, or maybe how many people end up working on those cinematics? Do you have something like that?
It's hard to say exactly. There's a couple different teams that work on them, and when it makes sense, we share resources. Different artists, modelers, animators might help out on different groups. But to bring that level of fidelity and that level of polish, it's a lot of people, you know, across multiple teams.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I lost my notes now. So I love the cinematics. I love the story. What are some of your favorite projects that you've worked on in StarCraft 2, maybe favorite cutscenes or favorite levels, anything like that?
I think part of it just goes back to that first mission where we're trying to show Ire, like trying to show the city, like what does that mean? You know, how do we define it? Is it giant skyscrapers? Is, you know, park benches, or how does that relate to a human city? And how does it make it more exotic and still stay true to the Protoss roots? And so that was a really fun challenge for us. And then, of course, we had to destroy the whole thing because it's been thrashed for 5 years from the Zerg, so.
So you're like, oh, my beautiful work.
Every time I have a model from one of my guys, I'm like, okay, that's nice. Now we got to make a destroyed version.
Oh, that's kind of sad. But still looked really cool.
Thanks.
Yeah. And what about you? Favorite projects from Legacy of the Void, or even from before StarCraft 2? Anything like that?
Well, working on StarCraft 2, the cutscene that we unveiled at the panel yesterday, the introduction to the Spear of Adun, that was one of the first ones we made for the project. And the team really came together, and it was pretty ambitious for a relatively small team. And they did an awesome job putting it together. The artists and all the developers back there that we get to work with, they do fantastic work. And so seeing that come to life, come together, and really set the tone for what we have in store for players to play as the Protoss has been awesome, and it's helped setting the bar of what we want to achieve and even surpass with the rest of the work we want to do for Legacy of the Void.
And I'm sure even just unveiling it as well and getting to see people's reactions was also probably just the culmination of all of that.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. There was just big rounds of applause, and just wanted to let the team soak it up.
Well, yeah, that ship is massive. Mm-hmm. There's so much to it, and getting to see like behind when you unlock units and getting to see them back behind, like the Colossus walking by and stuff, it was just so massive and grand. It was really cool.
Yeah, right on, thanks.
Yeah, for sure. So I've always noticed that, and this might be with an exception of Overwatch now, but it seems like Blizzard always has, their games always have this very unique feel, but they're always, you see a game and you kind of know it's a Blizzard game artistically. And so I was wondering if there was a way you could explain like what types of things make up the Blizzard art feel.
Wow, that's an awesome question. We probably both have different thoughts on this. I'll chime in a little bit. I mean, Man, it goes way back, or almost 20 years, with some of the first artists and art directors of the company, like Samwise Didier, really helping establish a style for the company. And we love to create great looking heroes, big, bombastic, bold characters that have great stories behind them, that are impressive and are really iconic, very visually unique from a distance. They really stand out. We talk about bold colors or really distinct silhouettes in our character designs, environments that you really want to step into. Really, hit an emotional chord with our players. And after a while, it doesn't come naturally, but it sort of, you just start to believe it as you're part of the company. It just kind of comes second nature, and everyone's amping each other else up too. Everyone's raising the bar and continually helping each other improve.
That's a great answer, actually. It's perfect. I mean, really, it's just, larger than life. You want to make these worlds that people believe in, and they want to live there, and they really immerse themselves in it. And again, it's just over-the-top characters, not over-the-top, but just epic. I mean, we always see that all the time at work, but that's really just the definition of it in any sense, like trying to sell the story and the heart of the soul of these characters, or how cool the robot is, or how much laser fire is raining down on the planet, all that stuff. Everything just has to have so much passion and desire for us just to make the best art ever.
It's actually funny that you mentioned the larger-than-life characters, because one of the questions my brother wanted me to ask you, but I was like, no, I'm not going to do that, is why Raynor's arms were so giant. It's like all of his limbs were, so now it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. He's just he's perfectly recognizable from anywhere, at any size. You guys talked about at the panel that you have a lot of new artists working on Legacy of the Void. So how do you then help them sort of adapt to that art style and bridge from whatever styles they're bringing in when they come in?
Well, I think it goes both ways, actually. So there's some amount of it that we want to help them understand with what's important to StarCraft, but at the same time, too, to just get a fresh perspective from new talent and new artists that are going to bring a unique perspective. They help infuse and inspire us and help us evolve what StarCraft can turn into. So I think the trick is just taking the best of both worlds and putting it together to come up with something that's unique and appropriate for the game, and something that we hope the fans really enjoy.
Did you want to add anything to that? Oh, yeah. So then what maybe some advice to high schoolers or college students or anybody for if they were like, I'm going to be a Blizzard artist someday? Some thoughts maybe?
I mean, first of all, just, you got to have some passion and talent for it. So obviously, gaming a lot, absorbing any kind of tutorials you can if you're doing like 3D Studio Max or Photoshop or, ZBrush, or if you're just concepting. Just practice. We just keep pushing yourself, and again, sometimes it helps out just trying to emulate our style directly. I remember whenever I first was interviewed here to come here, I stayed up all night trying to make there's a Warcraft 2 image in one of the manuals. I made it in 3D, and I was like, look how I copied your guys' style perfectly, and I helped to get that vibe, started understanding what they were doing with the art even before I started.
Yeah, so taking some initiative.
Yeah, as well. I mean, you just got to work your butt off, and that sounds simple, but it's really just that. You just got to keep pushing it, and just honing your skills.
Great. Any other advice? Any other?
I think Alan nailed it. I mean, as far as just practicing, staying really passionate and hungry. I mean, back when we got started in the industry, your audience was maybe your buddies at school and your mom, who always thought you're the best artist out there. But now with the internet and digital distribution, I mean, you can get your ideas and connect to so many people out there. And it's important to be honest with yourself and honest with the industry of like how much better you can be. There's so many resources available, whether it's online or tutorials or art schools for game art and things like that. So there's a lot of opportunity out there.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys both for that advice. Before we end the interview, I wanted to ask if you guys had any last thoughts about Legacy of the Void or BlizzCon, or just wanted to say hi to fans or anything like that.
We're just excited for the fans here. I mean, I think the response has been tremendous for Legacy of the Void, for BlizzCon in general. Overwatch has been awesome. And so when we come here, we get so amped up seeing the fans get geeked up. It's this synergistic effect, and we're just like, we can't wait to get back and start making more stuff and finish off this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think coming to BlizzCon is definitely one of the highlights for us. It's a lot of work coming and working up to it, putting it together, but when we're here, just seeing how much everyone's enjoying the work we're doing, we're so appreciative of people coming to the show and showing their love for the games, and it's really it refuels us, and it makes us want to go back to work and do even better.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Justin and Alan, for joining me for the interview. I really appreciate it, and I'm really looking forward to everything we're going to see with Legacy of the Void. See you guys later. Bye.